Okay, this is going to be a short review because I've already looked at this radio. I want to get two quick things out of the way first. I want to make sure that you know that every radio I review I bought with my own money. If I ever do a sponsored review, I'll tell you up front, but I bought these radios with my own shrinking wallet. The other thing I wanted to bring up is that now, this might offend some people, but I'm a Christian, and I really appreciate the fact that BTech puts two Bible verses on the back of their box. I admire them. I thank God for them. So, the biggest change between the BF-F8HP Pro review in the past and the one now is that they fixed the spurious emissions. I got a pretty nasty spurious emission the last time I reviewed this. Take a look at the screenshot from my Tiny SA Ultra, and you can see that we had 8.5 watts out and 110 milliwatts in the spurious emission, which is pretty nasty. I want to make sure that you understand that I'm not so strict that every spurious emission makes a radio undesirable. Here's a picture of the Quansheng UV-K5. Now, you take a look at that, and here is where it ranks on my care-o-meter. Okay, now let's go back to a picture of the Baofeng again, the original. And this is where it ranks on my care-o-meter. Fortunately, that problem has been solved. Now, it's been solved at the expense of output power, which is something you would expect from a radio of this price. I mean, if it was a $300 radio, I imagine the company would put the effort in to make sure that the filter doesn't reduce the power. But in this case, I can see where it does reduce the power somewhat. Now, in practice, the difference in power is really not, you're never going to notice the difference. The difference between 10 watts and 5 watts is so negligible that you probably wouldn't know the difference between the two. So that doesn't concern me at all. I'll tell you what does concern me about the radio. I mean, I love just about everything about this radio except one thing. There's good news and bad news about the zone management. I love the fact that there are different zones. I can put all 2-meter contacts in one zone, 70-centimeter contacts in the second zone, and so on. And that really is very convenient for me. If you use Chirp to program the radio, it'll just load everything into zone 1, and anything that doesn't fit in zone 1 will go into zone 2, and so on and so forth. And that's okay if you want to use Chirp. I like the Baofeng code plugs programming software better because it lets me manipulate all the different zones individually. But the problem is, the way to switch zones is you have to press menu, zone. I don't know, you can't really see that. It's not focusing very well. Just try and see if I can get that better. No. Well, you have to take my word for it. You have to press zone. Here we go. Zone select. Find the zone you want. And then exit out of the menus in order to get into the back into the screen. And to me, that's terribly inconvenient. Now, I don't know if the firmware has enough room for programming a switch to just go zone down. It would be great if I could just press a key and it would switch to the next zone or previous zone or whatever. But if there's not enough room in the firmware, I suggest that BTech get rid of this stupid stopwatch and instead have this key or some other key switch between zones. That would be a really dramatically great improvement to the radio. The only other problem I have with it is getting a GPS lock. I have never been able to get a GPS lock from this, but I haven't taken it way outside to see if it's just a matter of being out front of my home or in the shack. So I'm not going to complain about that. Otherwise, I love the radio. I love the fact that it has channel mode and VFO mode and A, B switch. No long presses of these buttons, no function button keys in order to do these operations. The top button does the FM radio. I programmed the bottom button
Central Texas for today
to go into NOAA weather radio. It's a terrific radio. I really loved it. One last thing about these radios, though, or at least my radios, I bought a second one, and that had two minor problems with it. One major, one minor, I should say. The minor problem was that here, I gotta pull off the battery. Under here are two nubs where the battery snaps in. And one of these was not placed or molded correctly. And I had to shave it in order to get the battery to go in. But the big problem is one of the radios does not work, the speaker does not work. I can plug an external speaker in the side jack here, and I can hear what's going on. So I know that it's receiving properly, but just the built-in speaker doesn't work. So I'm going to apply or go to support and apply for an RMA on that radio. Because I'd really like to have both radios. I want to be able to test things like sharing GPS location and so on and so forth. Just for kicks, let me show you the power output. Okay, on 2 meters, I'm getting 6.7 watts. Oh, I'm sorry, that was 70 centimeters. On 2 meters, I'm getting 6.4 watts. And let me switch over to 220. And on 220, 3.9, 3.8 watts. All very respectable. I like this radio. I would highly recommend it, but be careful. Make sure that you get one that works in every way, because obviously the quality control over at BTEC is not as top-notch as it should be. Because I've gotten 2 defective radios so far. Anyway, that's all I have for you. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, please subscribe, please share, and 73s.